Hi guys, and welcome to the Physical Performance Show. The highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there with Kristian Blummenfelt, the Olympic champion, the world champion, and the Ironman World Record holder. That was too long. Yeah.
And the winner is...
Failure is not an option.
I've had my ups and my downs.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go. Welcome to this bonus episode of the Physical Performance Show, dissecting the Ironman Triathlon World Record, 7 hours, 21 minutes and 12 seconds, with repeat guest of the show, none other than current Olympic Triathlon Champion, World Triathlon Series Champion, and now Ironman Triathlon World Record holder on debut, Kristian Blummenfelt. Today's show is brought to you by Polar's world-leading GPS watches and heart rate technologies. I'm Brad Beer, sports physiotherapist and exercise scientist by trade and training, and founder of Pogo Physio. As you know, each week we bring you the latest and greatest information and inspiration designed to help you perform at your physical best. And hence, you'll enjoy plenty of learnings and insights from arguably the world's hottest endurance performer right now, Kristian Blummenfelt. Kristian is no stranger to the Physical Performance Show, having appeared back on episode 117 in 2018, where he outlined his goals, his ambitions to become Olympic Triathlon Champion, World Triathlon Series Champion, and to make an impression across the Ironman distance as well. Kristian then reappeared on episode 286 following his Tokyo Olympic Games sensational victory. I posted recently to the Physical Performance Show's social handles at Physical Performance Show that Kristian was popping on for this bonus episode, and we were inundated with your wonderful questions. Now, we've tried to cover as many as possible in today's episode, so I hope you enjoy Kristian's tailored answers. Get set for plenty of learnings as Kristian Blummenfelt dissects his 21st of November 2021 Ironman Triathlon World Record set in Cozumel, Mexico, 7 hours, 21 minutes, 12 seconds. Who wouldn't want a 39:41 swim split, 4 hours and 2 minutes and 40 seconds on the bike, and a 2:35:24 marathon to finish? Here is King Kristian himself. Kristian Blummenfelt, welcome to the Physical Performance Show, or should I say welcome back. This is now your third appearance.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's what a weekend.
Wow. Well, we are theming this, a bonus episode, dissecting the Ironman Triathlon World Record, 7 hours, 21 minutes, 12 seconds. But let's not overlook the fact that this is the same calendar year, Kristian, that you have won the World Triathlon Series Championship and also become the 2020/21 Olympic Triathlon Champion. What a year.
Yeah, it's been feeling like it's all kind of coming together. And even though, like I said, just before COVID kicked in, that my biggest dream were to win the Olympics and the World Championship and Hawaii the same year, even though Hawaii had never happened. It's kind of feels like it's been the season I've dreamed of, and hopefully it can kind of roll into another strong 2022 season with both St. George and Hawaii and the Sub-7 kind of in the calendar. So hopefully it can be another big year next year.
Well, no one could argue that the momentum is with you. Just how do you feel not getting the chance to race Kona 2021?
I guess it would have been awesome. And then kind of when it first got postponed to February, it was kind of okay, giving me more time. But now it's kind of been moved to St. George as well. So it's a different location. So just trying to look at it as kind of in a positive way that I get a chance to race the World Championship both in Hawaii and outside of Hawaii. It's not it's the first time, so that's going to be just a challenge. 2 World Championships in 1 year as well. It's just a unique opportunity. So it will be important to be in shape and a lot of up for grab next year.
Maybe another historic year for the mighty Norwegian. The internet is calling you King Kristian for good reason. We dissected your Olympic victory back on episode 286 of the show in early this year. You mentioned going into the Olympics that you were there not to win, not to just finish, but you wanted a medal. And I think when it came down to that final 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers, perhaps you wanted it more than any other athlete out there. What was your mindset like going into your debut Ironman, Cozumel, Mexico, off the back of the fact that your Ironman plans were sort of shifted around there after the Olympics with you not needing to go to Frankfurt, etc.?
This time it was a very different kind of approach to the race than in Tokyo, because there you're kind of more racing for the position than anything else. But here as it's no kind of championship. Gustav wasn't here. Jan wasn't here. Lange. So it's so many kind of the best who wasn't here. So it's more kind of getting a good performance. And I came here more for putting it like a solid race together than just kind of staying back and trying to go for the win. So a very different approach to the race.
And you say a good performance. There's been a lot of listener questions come through, some of which I'll throw to you in a moment. But how much extra was in the tank, or was that everything? You looked pretty comfortable at the end.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a live coverage from the race. So from the second half of the run, from like 18K maybe to 32, 34K maybe, I was kind of a little bit in a rougher place. Like I had to pull back a little bit to like 3:55 pace to kind of feel safe to get to the finish line. It's kind of balancing there. And when I'm just kind of running there for myself, it's easier to hold a little bit back, and it's not like you're being pulled kind of running empty because you're pushing too hard. So it's easier to kind of control it. Maybe a little bit left, like if I had a shoulder-to-shoulder battle, but I was running quite hard.
That's been a question that's come up. If you were running shoulder-to-shoulder, how much more did you have? I think, as you say, there's still more there, but you were running hard. Your splits for the marathon, Kristian, what was the first half and second half to finish in that 2:35:34 marathon?
I think it was like 1:15, 1:16 first half, and that makes it like 1:20 almost the second. So I remember I was lapping my watch as it came halfway. So it's like 3 lap, and that was like after 1.5 lap, I was kind of lapping my watch, and I was running towards the toilet, and I think I was lapping it again at the toilet, and I had like 1:15, the turning point, in another 4 minutes. Yeah.
And you mentioned you had 2 toilet stops. I think one was 43 seconds, and the other one
41 seconds. So quite efficient. So it's important to practice that in training as well.
So this is Olympic champion toilet splits here. And you did mention that nutrition-wise, fueling-wise, you did have a bit of an upset stomach.
Yeah, but I think that came more from the days before. Like I felt like it wasn't the best, or I was kind of quite loose in the stomach from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I was actually very pleased with the way I was kind of my stomach was on race day, and I was feeling that I was able to absorb a lot of the energy that I was taking on board on the bike. So nutrition-wise, I felt that I was very well fueled. So I was kind of nervous for this before the race, but I was feeling surprisingly fine, compared to how I felt the last 3 days.
How would you describe the nervousness of the Olympic triathlon start line compared to your debut Ironman? What comparatively?
Well, I felt I had quite a lot of control here. It was way more pressure on myself in the Olympics. Like I already have the slots for St. George. I will probably, if I didn't get the slot for Hawaii here, I will probably get it in St. George. So I didn't feel any pressure to, like, other than just putting out a strong performance.
And that you did, and you mentioned back on episode 286 after becoming the Olympic champion that you were looking forwards to being introduced on a start line as the Olympic champion. You've had several opportunities now. Edmonton the week very close after, the Olympic Games, where you took that victory. How's it been being introduced as the current Olympic champion? There's only been a few of you.
Yeah, it's been great. And also adding on the world champion. So kind of having both of those in the introduction. Well, it is cool. Like, just strange at the same time.
Your coaches, your team, I should say, the triathlon community is very well versed with the success of the Norwegian outfit now, led by Harold Viton there. He commented, and of course your sports scientist, Olav, who we'll mention as well, Olav Alexander, Harold posted on Instagram, "This young man never ceases to impress me. After a long season winning the Olympic gold medal, becoming a world champion, he ends the season by setting a new world record in his Ironman debut, 7:21:12. Huge congratulations, Kristian Blue." And Olav Alexander has done an amazing job with this Ironman preparation. It's a team effort, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's so much behind, like, and also from, like, Olav Alexander, who has been with me, like, in Sierra Nevada and here in Cozumel for the week for preparation, and also to, like, all the sponsors who's kind of supporting and kind of helping me with kind of getting the advantage on the equipment side and technology wise. So it's a lot of people involved, and it's kind of put a little bit more pressure, like, because it's so many behind the performance, and in the end of the day, like, I have to pull it out on the race day. But it definitely, it's a huge advantage that I have.
And the world recognises the role that sports science plays in your preparations. And you mentioned that back on episode 286. We want to throw to some listener questions because I think it'll bring up some rich conversation points, Kristian. But I know you mentioned that you ran hard. You went hard, of course, to drop such impressive splits. But if you had to give yourself a scorecard percentage out of 100 for your debut Ironman, 100% represents what you feel is Kristian Blummenfelt's maximum potential in an Ironman. What would you say your Cozumel performance was as a percentage?
89.
89.
Yeah, like, it was obviously a good debut race, but it was not like I was put under pressure by either Gustav or Jan or and anyone on the bike. So, but I think, like, the pace, for example, in a championship will be higher on the swim, and I will probably have to be more aerodynamic and also find a little bit better position where I can kind of open up my pelvis and hip a little bit more to get a little bit stronger and powerful. Because now I was quite worried about this coming into this race, because I didn't feel I had the right kind of pedal stroke that I was kind of wanting to have, like, that I felt I had in the past. So definitely getting more used to the TT bike, even though I had a few weeks or months. I think it's still a lot I can gain there, and also aerodynamic wise. And on the run, we are aiming to get more down to 225. It's kind of trying to optimize the training towards that. And also, like, to have the whole team around me who's kind of doing the numbers, calculating, like, how fast I should run and kind of can run. Then I guess that's also helping me, pushing myself. Like, if they tell me that we actually think that you can do 225 off the bike, and this is what we're aiming for, then I really have to kind of, it puts the standard in the training as well, like in the lead up.
So the reliance on your team there being led with what they feel may be your physiological potential. And it's exciting to hear someone talk about a sub 230 marathon off the bike. It's been a long time coming, and for many years would have been a pipe dream, but you're very close now.
Yeah, I think it obviously depends on how hard the bike is, and you kind of have to then in a race have to kind of do the math, like whether it's worth it or not, and if it's a tactical race or not. I think for sure, like we can go under 230 in the future, and hopefully we can get there already within the next 10 months.
There you go. The gauntlet has been thrown down. Bike position's fascinating because you mentioned after the Olympic victory back on episode 286 that you were getting straight onto your giant Trinity TT bike, and that you would be doing a lot of work on the trainer for controlled power efforts. You said you felt your pedal stroke was a bit different. How was it different?
Yeah, so I haven't really found like how I wanted to be sitting. So I've been playing up and down with the seat post and kind of with the pads, like the aero pads, and how wide I'm going with the arms, and like even like race week, I was putting my arms maybe a centimeter or a half centimeter wider on both sides, just because I didn't feel I was able to sit there for the full hours that's required in this course. So I had to, but I think like in the end, I will have to find a way to put my saddle further forward so I can also, I think that's the problem now. So to get the saddle further forward and maybe stretch out a little bit more and go a little bit lower in the front.
So as you say, open up the hips and play around with the front end. I think it is encouraging to hear the world record holder, Kristian, say that you were tinkering with your position right up to race week. I think many age group athletes would put their hand up as well.
Yeah, I'm like, that's the annoying thing with cycling. I'm always feeling like I should put my saddle higher. So I'm ending up like being too high, and then I'm dropping down again, and I feel like I have to put it higher again. And then because I'm more kind of on the bike, I prefer to be standing. Like riding standing, it's almost like I want to be standing as I'm sitting.
So we'd call you a micro adjuster if we use the parlance of prior guest of the show, Phil Burt, Team Sky bike fitter, physiotherapist, who talks about macro adjusters or micro adjusters. I think that's the terminology. Kristian, are you at liberty to share your average power across the 4-hour, 2-minute bike split there in Cozumel? It was on rough roads. You didn't have a disc wheel in.
Yeah, it was not allowed with disc wheel like in Hawaii. So I was having 295 or about for the 4 hours, and I felt like I was able to keep the power up for all 3 laps. So that was kind of also a good relief. Like we were even kind of going a little bit like up and down, kind of surging a little bit like in there in between. So I felt quite strong even until the very end. Like I've seen, I think a lot of athletes is very strong for the first 3 hours, and then they drop significantly for the last hour. So that was something I was pleased with. And also that I was able to do the nutrition and the hydration well across the whole bike.
And training sessions leading into that, I mean, you don't hide data. It's all there on Strava. You've mentioned before on prior episodes that it's one thing for people to see the data, but the thing that they can't see or replicate is the intensity control, the day-to-day decisions around extending a session or shortening a session or missing a session. But a colleague of mine had gone through and pulled out your 36 days data from Strava into 3 columns, swim, bike and run. And it's all listed here. And I mean, some of the sessions I can see, obviously, some great bike sessions. Any key bike workouts that you think really prepped you up for that 4-hour 2 split there on the weekend?
Yeah, so actually last week in Sierra Nevada, for example, I was aiming, which we did put like the bike, like my number into the, I think, best bike split, and going through the Cozumel course, and we got out like putting on in 300 watts, and we got it out like how you want to go for the race power wise. So I did it kind of into like the training program on the turbo. So I was supposed to do 2 hours on the bike and then 1:15 on the run, and then do that twice up in altitude. So I did actually 2 hours and 30 minutes in the kind of the Cozumel course, up and down around 300 watts on the bike, off to 90 minutes race pace run, off to 90 minutes again on the bike. But then I was just running empty. So we tried to kind of reach the 30, 35K mark on the run, and like 3, 4, 5 hours on the bike.
So if I heard correctly, 130 minutes on the bike at 300 watts, 90 minutes on the treadmill race pace, so about 3:30s.
For the run? For 3:45.
3:45, sorry, correction.
So we've been practicing around like 3:40, 3:45.
Okay, and then another 90 minutes on the bike.
Yeah, we're first 2:30 and then 90 minutes.
Yeah, gosh, impressive. One thing that jumped out off this table that was produced is that the Olympic triathlon champion, now the Ironman World Record holder, World Triathlon Series Champion, can go out and do a 10K easy run in 60 minutes. It happens, right? Intensity control.
Yeah. If I'm smashed, I have to do it. Like 2 days ago, I was going out for a walk, 45 minutes, 4K. So
intensity control. There's no secrets to some of your success, Kristian.
But I guess if you from the altitude, I guess is what's maybe in the terrain. So if I'm feeling kind of very tired, I might go like in the trails instead, and instead of pushing the kind of the speed all the time,
and just get lost in the trails and ignore the speed. Yeah.
And just kind of keeping the legs going a little bit, like you can go riding in the hills, so you can go riding flat by the beach. It's two different ways of riding.
Yeah. Kristian, there is so much richness in the Physical Performance Show listeners' questions that have come through. It covers all areas from mindset through to athletic growth, nutrition, science, sports science. We might just throw into these because I think it'll bring up some really great conversation points. The first, which is probably a little different from the other questions, comes from Australian-based psychologist Brett Carter. And Brett's question was, Kristian, there's always been an overreaching fear from the shorter distance athletes that they would lose their speed by stepping up to longer distances. But yourself and Gustav Eden do not seem to hold this fear. Do you hold this fear? Is it just a myth, or have you and your team come up with ways to ensure that you don't lose speed going to the longer distances?
Well, like as I've already, I've won the games and the World Championship. I feel like it's worth taking the risk of going to long distance. Like, but in the same time, we try to keep the VO2 max and the speed in touch. So we try to kind of keep the focus on that as well. But I know that it might be risky, but it's a risk that I'm willing to take, as I've already won the Olympics and the World Series. So it's now time to give it a really all-in try to do St. George and Hawaii properly. Shannon
O'Hara asks, Kristian, did you expect to break the world record going into the weekend, Cozumel?
Yeah, that was the big, like when I saw the results from 2019 and they did 7:44, I think it was Butterfield, then I thought that, yeah, for sure, I should be able to go, like 15 minutes faster. I didn't expect, like when I came here for training, I was kind of surprised how bumpy the tarmac were and also how much headwind it were from on the backside of the island. So it was actually much, much slower conditions in the training leading up to the race than it were on race day itself. So that kind of changed my focus a little bit from just focusing on the times to be more kind of focusing on getting a stronger race. But on race day, we just had really good conditions, almost a little bit of almost like tailwind as well on the section where I was expecting headwind.
Because the humidity and the ambient temperature, what was that on the day, Kristian?
Not really sure. Like we are in Mexico. It's not like it's super cold, but it was probably a little bit humid. But it was kind of coming a few clouds in. It was showering. It was raining a little bit, so it felt relatively okay in terms of the heat.
You're listening to current Olympic triathlon champion, World Triathlon Series champion, and now Ironman Triathlon World Record holder on debut, Kristian Blummenfelt, on this bonus episode of the Physical Performance Show. Support for today's show comes from Polar. Now, the team at Polar would like to congratulate Kristian on his huge achievement, becoming the World Ironman Triathlon record holder. To get to the start line of any Ironman is an incredible achievement in itself, yet to break the world record on debut is nothing short of spectacular. As many of us know, to get a personal best takes the right effort on race day, but has to be backed up by balancing the best planning, training and recovery that's right for the athlete. And also from the Nordics, for over 40 years, that's exactly what Polar have been doing. If you or a loved one are in the market for a GPS watch this Christmas, or if you are looking to take your performances to the next level, jump across to polar.com to check out their latest multi-sport watches and heart rate monitors, including the brand new Grid X Pro and the beautiful Vantage V2 in stunning Polar Red. Race over to polar.com before midnight, Monday the 29th of November, and you can also enjoy 20% off almost everything from Polar, including GPS watches, sensors, and heart rate monitors as their Cyber Week deals are finishing. Otherwise, you can use the code TPPS as a special partner discount. For now, let's jump back with Kristian Blummenfelt, Olympic Triathlon Champion, World Triathlon Series Champion, and now Ironman Triathlon World Record holder on debut on this bonus episode, dissecting the Ironman Triathlon World Record. Kristian Glenn Littlebury asks, the Norwegian men, especially Kristian, are dominating triathlon at all levels at present and continue to produce phenomenal performances. What is Kristian's intensity distribution in training across short distance and long distance triathlon?
Well, the biggest difference is that we do the more Ironman specific sessions. So we try to kind of keep the balance and keep the VO2 max high. So we do maybe 4 days of the week is kind of as normal as we did before, with kind of Olympic cycle focus. And then we have 3 days where we do kind of prepare for Ironman though. So let's say we have rest day on Friday, and then we have kind of an Ironman on Saturday and Sunday, or divided in different ways. So, and then it's back to an Olympic cycle again for 4 days. So we try to kind of keep the balance like this.
Because your preparation in weeks post the Olympics, how many weeks of specific Ironman training did you have?
So after Super League, I did 1 week with no training at all. So 7 days, just doing nothing. And then I went up to Sierra Nevada for 5 weeks. And from there on, I did 5 weeks in Sierra Nevada and then 2 weeks here in Cozumel.
And we can't forget your Super League out in there in LA, where you went to the front and showed what it took to break away on the short course as well. Kristian, it's an open-ended question from the first guest of the Physical Performance Show, incidentally, Alistair Day, Australian-based surf lifesaving champion, who asks, what makes Kristian so good?
I guess it's just the love for training. I've always liked being active and doing a lot of different sports, and it maybe makes it easy for me to do a lot of training. And after many years of building the foundation, it's maybe what's been helping me building the engine.
I mean, you've been working with Harold Vighton, your coach, since he was 16 years of age. It's been a long-term project, and the goals have always been big, but the beautiful thing about your story is these goals are being achieved. It hasn't been an overnight success. This has been really 10 years of strategic planning.
Yeah, that's true. When we started with the kind of youth national team, we had kind of the big ambition of going to the Olympics, or not just going, but winning the gold medal in 2020. And it's very strange to be on the other side. And but also we don't just like the kind of the victory side of it. We like kind of the journey as well. So therefore we're kind of setting ourselves new goals, and we very quickly kind of refocus and evaluate and kind of try to improve for the next race. So that's why we're already kind of going to a new testing, a round of testing when I get back home from Daytona, doing wind tunnel testing as well. And it just keeps rolling, and we just try to do it even better for next time.
Harold, your coach, head of Norway Triathlon Federation there, back on episode 224, did mention that alongside the discipline, the hard work, the voluminous work, is also a team culture of fun. You, as a team, still have fun.
Yeah, I think it's important to to do kind of enjoy what you're doing, because you're putting so much, like you can't just enjoy kind of winning races, because it's times where it doesn't really happen like this. So you do have to be able to surround yourself with people that you enjoy being with, and kind of enjoying the kind of Monday to Friday as well, and not just the race for the Saturday.
How does Kristian Blummenfelt, Olympic Triathlon World Triathlon Series Champion, have fun? You mentioned to me once at a Super League event when I asked you if you had a girlfriend that you didn't, you had your bike in the pain cave. So outside of a girlfriend, how does Kristian Blummenfelt have fun?
I don't know, like going for a coffee. I don't know, like off, or going for a good session. Like it's not like it's too much outside of swim, bike, and run. Like I don't have too many hobbies other than training and testing and traveling. So trying maybe to explore a little bit where I'm traveling and having a bit fun as well. Like maybe going for some snorkeling here in Cozumel, and looking for maybe some kind of spear fishing or something.
It's an endearing part of who you are, though, Kristian. You're unapologetic. You love it. You do the work. You're disciplined, and you don't need to make any apologies for that. But it'd be good to see you out snorkeling, Kristian. It sort of flows in with Glenn Littlebury's question. It comes from Andreas Swim Bike Ash on Instagram. Was the seemingly easy switch from short distance to long distance because of the huge amounts of aerobic training through the year?
Yeah, I guess so. Like we have always had hours wise, I guess we have been maybe training even more than the guys doing Ironman. So it's more like about being able to do those kind of long run or the Ironman specific training. And like when we go to the track in a normal short distance preparation, we can do track session that's like up to 15K. And then I don't mean like 15K including warm up. Then it's kind of 15K of main set. So we normally do like prepare like this for the Olympic distance. So I think that's maybe why we can easily transform over to the longer stuff. And also, like I'm working with great people who understand the energy system. So like when we're up in Sierra Nevada, like we're doing a lot of lactate measurement testing using Davia to master to measure the where my energy is coming from, and kind of understanding the whole picture.
And that would be with your sports scientist, Olav Alexander.
Yeah, Olav Alexander.
You have been seen visibly with the Super Sapiens device and also the core body temperature device. Were they data points that you were monitoring throughout your Ironman?
Yeah, well, I didn't have my core sensor on actually on the race day. That was something I maybe should swap the heart rate belt for the week, and I kind of just didn't put it on. So, but it would have been cool to kind of see the change in the efficiency there across the 7.5 hours of racing. But yeah, and also to keep control over the blood sugar is key, like because you want to kind of have the intake and being able to kind of fuel properly also under racing. But this is also like key sensors to use for training as well, to be able to learn how the body is responding. So we're using this a lot for the kind of the Ironman session that we've done in the altitude, like when I've tried to simulate the Ironman distance.
And the core body temperature system as well you used to develop the Olympic champions tri-suit for Tokyo. So it's really something that you've integrated fully. Yeah,
and that's even like the suit I'm using now. Like it's a kind of Tokyo meeting Kona edition suit. So I have like the very special fabric that Trimtex is making, which is really good for transporting heat out of the body. So like even though it wasn't super warm here in Cozumel, it definitely is a suit that is helping me over 7.5 hours.
Yeah, so it's a long time, but becoming a shorter time. Kristian, it's the world record, 7:21:12. What the Fizz on Instagram asks, what's the one thing that Kristian needs to improve to have a better race, and what's the biggest takeaway from Cozumel?
Yeah, as I said, I think the bike might be more important, like feeling more confident prior to the race on the bike. And takeaways, maybe, I guess like just doing this for another 6 months into St. George will help. Like, you can't expect to be kind of at your destiny already after 2-3 months of training, or Ironman specific training. So just to kind of keep doing the work and optimizing everything towards Ironman, I think will improve.
Yeah, optimizing a TT bike position doesn't happen in a few weeks, that's for sure, Kristian. So it'd be exciting to see your aerodynamics get even greater ahead of 2022. Jose asks on Instagram, and I have a feeling I may know the answer to this, and that is that your heat protocols are, for good reason, proprietary. They are trade secrets. You've developed it. But Jose asks, how does Kristian prepare for racing in tough conditions with the heat and humidity, given that he's a Norwegian?
Yeah, it's true. Like, we did a lot of testing and kind of tried to understand and learn, or see what we had to do towards Tokyo. And it's kind of the same approach we're using for longer distance. So I started kind of softly up in altitude, and also I came here like 2 weeks early to Cozumel. But we also kind of, for this one, we believed it wouldn't be too warm. Like, it's November, end of November here in Cozumel, or in the rest of the world as well. So it's not the warmest time of the year. Like, we would have used more time if it were earlier on the season.
Today's show is also brought to you by AMP Human and Momentous, building the future of human performance. AMP Human, creators of PR Lotion and Momentous, the cleanest, safest sports nutrition company, are merging together to build the future of human performance. PR Lotion is designed to maximize your training and recovery by unlocking bicarb, a natural electrolyte that improves muscle function and helps you comfort fatigue during hard workouts. Train, compete, repeat with AMP Human PR Lotion. Now, the team have generously offered 25% off when you buy from AMP Human's brand store at Bike Exchange. Jump over to bikeexchange.com.au and search for AMP Human. Now, simply use the code TPS capitals /25, TPS /25 at the checkout. Kristian, Peak Forever Mads on Instagram asks the following: what kind of physiological testing protocols does Kristian use, and how often? The more details, the better. How does Kristian balance capacity and power utilization training? Huge congrats, Kristian. What an accomplishment.
Well, like, first, the standard test is like the bike, swim, and run test, where we do the 8 by 6 minutes, kind of ramping up to find the LT1 and LT2, and also starting up with the VLMX test in the beginning and finishing off with VO2 max in the end. So we do this both. We're starting off first with the bike, and then the next day on the swim to give the legs a break, and then the run again. The same kind of principles on the third day. So, for example, on the run, I start off running at 14k per hour, and then I ramp it up by 1k per hour up to 21k per hour in the end.
And you've made it known publicly in the past, there's no obligation to share, but did you have a measure of of course you did, but your VO2 max ahead of this Ironman world record?
I guess it was dropping a little bit. Like, I've been over 90 in the past, but what was happening when you're doing Ironman training is that very easily it's drop. So we're trying to keep it high. Yeah, making sure it doesn't drop too much. So I'm guessing maybe like 80 low, 82, 83.
Kristian, multi-Hawaii Ironman finisher herself, Joe Coombe asks on Instagram, does Kristian think he's suited for Kona?
Yes. Even people say, like, the bigger you are, like the more you will suffer in heat. But I guess like I don't feel I have that kind of experience. Like straight away unacclimatized, I might be struggling more. But if I do the acclimation correctly, then I feel it is no problem.
And as you shared, the acclimation work is something that you have really tailored in there with the Norwegian team. Trade secret, that one. Katrina Matthews, this is one to stir the pot here. Your fellow professional triathlete here, Katrina asks, do you think your performance, Kristian, was statistically better than Gustav's, and why?
Yeah, much better. No, it was. I saw that she reckoned Gustav's was better. So it's very different kind of ways of racing. Like you can't really look at the times because his swim was like 20 minutes slower, mainly because of the conditions, and he was maybe just also holding back. He was racing under cooler temperatures and had guys to draft off, while I had maybe a little bit shorter run course and was running a little bit slower. So we will see in St. George.
Good answer. Let the results talk there. Selim Slimbike Run on Instagram was curious about some nutrition insights from the Ironman. What are you happy to share around there, Kristian?
Well, yeah, I was using kind of Red Bull in the morning to get fired up and get ready for the swim. Morton on the bike to get fueled and getting the carbs in, and then a little bit of mix of Red Bull again, and in the end, and trying to get as much carbs as possible in without getting trouble with the stomach.
Pre-hydration obviously would have been pre-hydrating as well and ticking all the boxes.
Yeah, so, but also I think I'm quite used to hydrate quite well, so I can drink a lot of liquid. So I felt maybe a little bit the last hour that I was boiling a little bit, like feeling the needs to cool my head down a little bit, and they only had they had this kind of water, plastic bags of water instead of the bottles. So it's quite tricky to use it for cooling myself down. But they had these big Gatorade bottles, quite cold. So I was kind of using them as water to just get my head cooled down.
It was similar to the Tokyo Marathon, where the runners were putting ice packs on their heads under their under their hats. Kristian, this is the Physical Performance Show specific question from long-term listener, UK-based Samantha Baroness 3000 on Instagram. And she comments, I'm interested in how Kristian has grown as an athlete, and I'm curious to know if his performance round questions from episode 117 back on July 2018 have changed. Now I'll help you here, Kristian. These questions were sessions most loved and disliked and the toughest, most admired competitor. So back in 2018, you commented that your most admired, toughest competitor was Alistair Brownlee. So in 2021, would you change that answer?
Yeah, well, now it's a focus on the Ironman. I guess it's more natural to say the guy who is on the top of the crown at the moment, Jan. So he's kind of the guy I have in my mind when I'm doing the training.
Daily?
Not daily, but that's kind of the guy we want to beat.
Absolutely. And then the other key questions were the session you most disliked. Back in 2018, you said a swim at 6 a.m. in the morning. You needed without a cup of coffee.
Yeah, decaffeinated swims. That's the worst. The worst. Another thing, I hate running straight after swimming because it just makes the legs feeling so crappy. That's also up there of what I really dislike.
Good Super League training though, Kristian. And then the hardest session back in 2018, you commented that you liked any of the brick sessions, 2 to 5, back-to-back bricks with, hard runs there up to 2Ks. Has that changed in 2021, or is that still something that you love? Yeah, I do like. It's kind of the race pace session is quite nice. Like we're doing the brick session now for the Ironman, we'll do kind of the 4 hours and the 35K on the run. It's kind of a session you kind of
scaring you a little bit, like you're kind of feeling nervous, like in the morning before you're starting it, and kind of feeling it almost like it's a race prep and a competition. So it's kind of something that's really making me make sure that I get the best out of me.
And was that run done outdoors, over ground, or on a treadmill, the 30 to 35K run that, you've already mentioned?
I've done both.
Okay.
So when we do it like kind of trying to do it once a week at the most, then it's quite easy to do it on the treadmill. I feel it's a little bit softer than just a track. So trying to mix it up a little bit.
Mindset question from Adelaide Goodeve, Adelaide sports psychologist. How does Kristian prepare his mindset for his extremely high level of performance?
I don't know. I just try to stay kind of hungry and focusing and kind of daring to dream big.
Dare to dream big. You said that back on episode 117. That you had big dreams. Clearly, though, there's still dreams to achieve. Kristian Bastien Missoud, and I do apologise, Bastien, if I'm not pronouncing it well, a French-Australian-based endurance athlete over at Run Crew. And Bastien asks or comments, Norwegians are doing particularly well across endurance sports, Nordic skiing, triathlon, running, mountain bike. Any reason? Lifestyle as kids? And how does the extreme change in sun exposure between summer and winter impact on Nordic athletes?
Yeah, I think like we have strong history, like especially on the winter sports side, like, and kind of endurance based, like, but it's not like we've been extremely brilliant, I guess. We have like a good generation coming up now, but if you look at like in Rio and in London, we haven't really won too many medals. I do think it's a little bit wrong to just look at the medals we are winning on the winter side, because most countries is kind of focusing on the Summer Olympics.
Kristian, how has life changed since becoming the Olympic champion? We're only days post the world record. And has it been ratified as an official record? There was talk about the current assisted swim.
Yeah, Ironman has said it's kind of official, so that's cool. But it's been cool. Like what I like the most is kind of just to go training and kind of being with the team and doing swim, bike, and run and setting new goals. So, but it's cool, like to see how many has actually been able to or have seen the race and kind of recognize the performance. So that's been cool. But also like in the bottom, like what I like the most is the training and the racing. Back
home in Norway, the reception to your achievements back there, what's that been like?
Well, it's been cool. Like I haven't been too much at home, but like it's cool to see like how many is kind of, like when I was out running in the beginning, like it was quite a lot of people was like saying like congrats and well done and cool, and just wanted to congrats me.
You're listening to Kristian Blummenfelt, current Olympic triathlon champion, World Triathlon Series Champion, and now Ironman Triathlon World Record holder on this bonus episode of the Physical Performance Show. Just recently, I caught up with Andy Blow, co-founder of Precision Hydration, to learn about the recent advances that they have been making in helping endurance athletes worldwide perform at their best through understanding their three levers around fueling, hydration, and sodium replenishment.
Yeah, Brad, it's been a great project this last year because what athletes want to know is how much fluid, how much sodium, how much carbohydrate they need to take in per hour. And we know from all the studies we've done, we know from all the scientific evidence out there that those numbers are quite varied between individuals. So what we've been working hard to do is pull together a bunch of case studies for athletes across a range of endurance sports, triathlon, running, cycling, swimming, to see how much fluid, how much sodium, how much carbohydrate are people taking in per hour, and then how successful they've been in their events. And the idea with these case studies isn't that they're up there for people to copy, but they're to get your head around the numbers that might work for you and to give you a platform to build on. And then in conjunction with the tools that we've got on the website, like the online sweat test, the quick carb calculator, you can dive in and use those tools to get your numbers sorted out and start that trial and error process to see how much, fluid, how much sodium, how much carb is going to work for you when you're out there competing in the summer heat.
Thank you, Andy. Do take advantage of Precision Hydration's generous offer, up to 15% off your first order of electrolytes or their all-new fuel range. Use the code TPPS over at checkout, precisionhydration.com. While there, also be sure to take the quick carb calculator and the free online sweat test. Let's jump back with current Olympic Triathlon Champion, World Triathlon Series Champion, and now Ironman Triathlon World Record holder, dissecting that performance, Kristian Blummenfelt. Kristian, the physiotherapist in me is always quite intrigued with your body management. Aside from the navicular bone stress injury that you had circa 2014-15 from memory, you've been remarkably injury-free. How did you steward your body between the Olympics, the World Triathlon Series victory in Edmonton, and then Cozumel? What was your body maintenance routine looking like?
Well, I think it's like the key is to have the confidence to back off early enough. Like if you feel like something niggling like in your foot for 1 session, 2 session, 3 session, and it's getting worse and worse, then you kind of should have the confidence of backing it off a little bit rather than just following the program. So I guess that's maybe what I do kind of. And often if I feel something in my foot, I might, instead of going to the track and smashing it, I often go to the treadmill instead, and I do put the treadmill on 6, 7, 8% and kind of do the similar session just with a lower impact. So always try to kind of keep the balance there.
Yeah, and back on episode 117, you commented that you learnt your lesson from that stress fracture years ago now, that don't blindly follow the program because it's expected, rather make these day-to-day decisions and be disciplined to listen to your body and then take appropriate steps.
Yeah, and also like be a little bit clever, like in the way you're building up your training. Like if you haven't run too much kind of speed workouts on the track, it might not be the best one to go like suddenly just ramp it up to some fast 400. Then it's maybe better to have a little bit kind of confident kind of, okay, it's if I'm running like 1/10 per 400 now, I don't need to go 160 or 105 immediately straight away. Kind of maybe finish off your last one at 105 just to kind of get the strength training in your muscle, but don't overdo it like this. So we're trying to be a little bit clever with the way you're ramping up your training.
Intensity control, such a key theme. Massage therapy, hands-on therapies, stretching, foam rolling, strength and conditioning. Was there a routine there or just a daily work?
Yeah, I try to have a routine now on stretching on the overbody to get more flexible for the swimming. So that's something I do like twice a day. It takes like four minutes that I do like with the chest and also like, hanging and using elastic bands. A little bit of stretching after the runs, but actually no physio, no massage. So last time when I had this leg injury back in December, we called each other and that got some massage kind of down on the leg to loosen it up a little bit.
So that was almost 12 months ago.
Yeah, that's right. So I think the best way to stay injured is kind of to be aware of like what kind of shoes you're wearing, kind of what kind of surface you're running on and how you're building up your intervals and all of those kind of things. And also the longer you can stay injury-free, the more you likely will probably stay injury-free forever almost, I guess.
Gosh, that is just so wise. It's a recurring theme from experts on the show, Kristian, that uninterrupted training is the key. As you say, train smarter and harder and aim for that uninterrupted training workload as opposed to boom-bust cycles with injuries. Kristian, thank you for your generosity in sharing and also your time straight off the back of what was a historic weekend. It doesn't end there. You've already thrown the gauntlet down. We're looking at a sub 2:30 marathon off the bike at some point. There's 11% left in your performance across an Ironman distance, self-reported, Kristian. coming up, though, we can't overlook the sub 7 hours Bahrain Endurance / Phoenix attempt. So any ideas on when this might be happening and how you'll change your preparations?
Yeah, so it will be in between St. George and Hawaii. So, and also now the team is kind of coming together now. Like we found the riders that, I have some really strong team of riders that's willing to be a part of the pacing team on the bike, which I think is the most important to be able to find. And so that's kind of taking a lot of pressure off my shoulders that we actually have that already secured. And we will probably kind of meet up to do some kind of practice and kind of working on the kind of the position and the aerodynamic together over the next few months. So that's cool. And hopefully we'll get some more data from the kind of the course itself that we can start playing around with.
Because the course hasn't been finalized yet, I believe.
No, that's right.
Well, very exciting. And Tony Barber from AMP Human here in Australia commented that it seems inevitable now that sub 7 may fall, given what you just did on the weekend. Yeah,
like for sure. Like if you can put in 10 pacers to pull me around, like probably the swim will be a little bit slower in the sub 7, as it's not going to be such a strong current there. So maybe a few minutes lower there, but then having a bike leg at 180 rather than a K and a half too long will help. And also having the pacers that will maybe push me down another 15 minutes down to closer to 3:45. And I will probably be even fresher off the bike by doing that than I did now in Cozumel. And also better trained for the run. So maybe we will see 2:25 off the bike there, which is another 10 minutes.
And a minute 24 in toilet stops.
Yeah, well, hopefully I will have no toilet stop during the sub 7. And I will do it in the pants.
Kristian, we love your passion. We love your dedication. Congratulations on the year, the calendar year, but of course the weekend just gone, 7/21/12. And thank you for so generously sharing and being available. You're outstanding. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you so much for having me once again. And remember to send you one of your T-shirts, as you said.
Coming your way, Kristian Blummenfelt.
Thank you so much for having me.
So how about that? A bonus episode of the Physical Performance Show just before our milestone 300th episode. And I trust and I know you enjoyed Kristian's generous sharings and reflections as he dissected his Ironman Triathlon World Record, 7 hours, 21 minutes and 12 seconds. Now, what stands out to me is that self-reported overall assessment of an 89% performance. It certainly indicates that there is plenty more to come from this exciting athlete across the Ironman distance. Talking about more to come, next week we'll bring you a surprise guest for our 300th episode, so be sure to be tuning in. In the meantime, don't forget, if you are enjoying the show and would like to support its production, you can practically do so now over on Patreon, Patreon. Just search the Physical Performance Show. You can support the production alongside a host of other endurance-based loving people from just $5 per month. In return, we'll grant you complimentary access to our complete back catalogue and all upcoming live stream events. As always, thank you to the great team who make this show possible each and every week. Daryl Misson, our audio engineer, Susan Wilkin, show administrator, Matthew Olding, show graphic designer. Now, coming up on next week's episode of the Physical Performance Show, it's a special celebration episode, episode 300. We'll bring you a surprise guest. A hint, he has appeared before on the show as a featured performer, but there has been a lot change in this athlete's world since he first appeared on the show. So until then, keep pursuing your physical best performance. I'm Brad Beer, and this has been the Physical Performance Show.